Welcome everyone to this workshop. Today we're going to be looking at Turnitin and Canvas. This is us, the Learning, Design, and Digital Innovation team. Today the presenters are myself. My name is Eduardo. I am the Learning Technology Specialist, and here with me is joining me my colleague Kalisa. Kalisa, you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Eduardo. Hi, my name is Kalisa, and I'm a learning designer here at LDDI. And before we get into the meat of today's presentation, we would, of course, like to respectfully acknowledge that LDDI is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. These lands and places are steeped in the histories and knowledge of the original peoples of these territories. The faculty's activities take place on Indigenous lands through British Columbia and beyond. And we would like to extend the opportunity for anyone joining us today who's not from the same location as UBC Vancouver to share where in the chat they're joining in from today. Next slide, please. We're going to go through Turnitin. That's on our agenda. A bit of the overview. So Turnitin, the affordances and issues. We'll demonstrate, of course, how it is integrated into Canvas and just a little bit of educative approaches to its implementation of the tool. So what is Turnitin? Well, Turnitin is a UBC-supported text matching tool that compares submitted work with a database of more than 337 million other student papers, web pages, and academic books and articles. After comparing an assignment with the database, Turnitin automatically generates an originality report or similarity report for the submission that tells students how much of their writing matches writing that from previously existing sources as well. But of course, beyond that, the feature Turnitin does have many grading features, which we'll go through today in functionality, and we'll explore those later in our session today. Eduardo?
Yep. So we have the integration for Canvas. So with Canvas. So previously, Turnitin was used as an external tool, and it can still be used in that way, but it was tricky to use it because you will need to create an account and students will need to create an account. So it involved many steps. But now the good thing is that it's integrated into Canvas, and that has made it much more smoother and easier to set up. So we're going to be showing you how that works. Basically, it has the same functionalities. Some things might be missing, but I think when you really compare the benefits that you're getting from getting it in Canvas, then it's completely worth it. So we will look at that in a moment in Canvas.
And so what are some available features that are now available from Turnitin in Canvas? Well, number one, it's now in Canvas. As Eduardo was saying, it's no longer an external tool that you need to have your students log into. You log into and you share these codes back and forth. It is important to know that different institutions though have different features that are turned on and turned off, but here at UBC these are some of the current features that are enabled through Turnitin. So the first one is the assignment submission Dropbox with grading functionality. This works with the Canvas assignments. So if you're familiar with that, the students can now submit their assignment where they're able to, where you're able to view it as the instructor, and you can grade it from there. Another key feature is the plagiarism checker through the Similarity report. What the Similarity report does is that it kind of goes through the student submission and it flags the different areas of their paper that might have been flagged somewhere else. So it might match somewhere else, whether it be another student's paper or a website or an academic journal, anything like that, and provide a percentage score there as well. Another key feature we have here is a grammar checking tool. So if you'd like students to check their grammar or their spelling, this is now a cool Turnitin feature where they're able to check all of that, as well as to categorize the different grammatical errors that might exist in the paper. And there's the toolbar. Sorry, go ahead, Eduardo, with the toolbar.
Yeah, and also it has a toolbar. So we're going to be showing you that in a moment in the actual platform. But just to show you here 1 minute, something that I'm going to be referring to throughout the presentation, which is this page that we have available on the LT Hub site. And here it shows all the instructions on how to use it. So we'll be sharing that with you at the end of this presentation. But just here you can see all the different items that we have in the toolbar. So one of them will be flags for review. I'll be explaining this in a moment. We have also the match overview that's going to show in what's the matching percentage that students are getting. Then we also have letter C, that will be the filtering option. And then we have, that will be D. Then C will be sources. It will show you a list of all the sources that are being referenced to. And finally, this one, the last one, allows to do some extra filtering. So we'll look at that in a moment. Let's continue.
Thanks, Eduardo. So those are some available features currently, but what are some unavailable features at UBC? So again, it differs from institution to institution, but there's disable feature here at UBC, and the first one is the AI detection tool, and this one is pretty current and very recent headlines, I would say. So with the tools currently designed, so the AI detection tool is designed to detect work that was potentially written by an AI, but UBC has made a decision to not actually enable this feature. And there's a pretty interesting article, pretty lengthy link that I just shared by the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology that kind of highlights the decision-making process, why they decided not to enable it, as well as I said, just shared it to the chat. It really comes down to the fact that they haven't had much time to really experiment with the tool, and that it might not be actually accurate to detecting AI either. So that's one unavailable feature. When I was going through some links on YouTube, I could see that other universities do have it enabled, but again, as I said, differs from institution to institution. The Learning Analytics dashboard, not data board, dashboard is also unavailable. So if you wanted to see a more visual design as to how everything is represented, this one, it is available outside of the Canvas platform. If you decide to sign up with Turnitin, that's available there, but not on the Canvas platform.
Thank you, Kalisa. Let's continue now with the affordances and issues.
Okay, so the real benefits of using Turnitin, and a really big piece, I think, is that students become aware or more aware of academic integrity. The key feature here is a similarity report that is generated each time a student submits an assignment. And what this does, again, is it flags similarities between papers, websites, articles that are found in the database. But also, then with that, it kind of shows them where that's coming from. So the students can compare what they have in their paper to other samples. So if you know that you have students who may not be quoting things accurately, or their citations aren't being done appropriately, this is a really good way for them to see exactly what their problems are. They can see their work is already been used, or in this case, probably not their own work, and so that things can be adjusted accordingly. I think this is another piece that has been mentioned, the availability of the assignment statistics, not the learning analytics. This is a this is different. This is what Eduardo will be going into in just a moment. So the Similarity report is available for instructors and students. Eduardo, instructor tools. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be looking at the instructor tools in a moment when we go into the platform. Different things that the instructors can use to filter content, to evaluate content. We'll look at that in a moment.
Okay, and issues, as I mentioned, there is an enormous database with millions of papers based on not just what Turnitin has found online or on the internet or through journals, but also through submissions from other students. So at UBC, we do have two options. We can either add people's papers or submissions to the database, or we can not do that. It doesn't mean that they won't be able to compare their work against this database. It just means that their paper won't be added to this database to be used then by Turnitin as a whole. So again, we're going to go through and show that feature. So if you're not going to have this feature turned on, we really want to impress that students should be aware that their work is being added to the database. And we'll see that there's actually a checkbox in the assignment, so students will know that their work is being submitted into the database. But if you're unsure about what to really do with that, we recommend turning off this feature. So there's no extra steps at the moment. At the moment, the feature is not turned on, and it would require you to have extra steps to actually add it to an assignment. But again, they may not be happy with this. We need to be mindful that this is actually students' intellectual property, and they may not be happy with their work being added to such a huge database to be used for this function. So that's just something to be mindful of. And oh, right, again, because this is linked to the idea of plagiarism and academic integrity, you may have some students who view the use of Turnitin as slightly a punitive approach to plagiarism. By uploading their work to Turnitin, they may feel like you don't trust them. And that's not to say that may be the case, but I think if we don't have that caveat beforehand about the use of the tool with some sort of mindfulness attached to it, that they may be taking it from this perspective, not as a learning tool that we see it as, but as a way to check on plagiarism. And that some students may not particularly feel good about this. It may give them some anxiety as well. So we just need to be mindful that the way we use Turnitin can impact how students feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. So now we go into the demo. Let's try it out. So I'm going to go to Canvas here. And by the way, these steps that I'm going to be running you through, we're going to be looking at how we create the assignment and then how we see the assignments and how we use Turnitin. So those two components. Now, these two parts, you can also find detailed instructions on LT-Hub's website, and we'll be sharing that link with you. So we'll be doing those two things, how to set up the assignment in Canvas, and then how we use Turnitin to check any issues that we might find there. All right, so let's do it. So first step would be to create an assignment. As you can see here, we created this shell for this workshop. We've already been testing it. We have like three different assignments that we've done, but I'm going to create a new one from scratch so you can see how it's set up. So first step, we create an assignment as we normally do in Canvas. We'll give it a name. This will be, let's say, 4. And here you will do the typical things like put in the description, points, how you want points to be displayed, different things. And then here in submission type, we want to keep online. Okay, so normally by default, it's going to be like that. So we will not change it. We'll just leave it like that. Then we have a text entry and file uploads. That's fine. Probably here it would be important to restrict the file types. By default, you'll see PDF, doc, and docx. That's fine. Keep it like that because that's the formats that Turnitin works with. So we'll keep that in this way. Now, when it comes to submission attempts, by default, we also have unlimited, and I would suggest doing that because some instructors might be using Turnitin for students to check their work so then they can make improvements and then resubmit. So if you have that intention, I would suggest to keep it this way. If you just want students to upload it, just submit the assignment just once, then you can change it. But my understanding is that many times instructors use them in this way. Okay, so then we move into the next section, which is plagiarism review. This is the thing. This is where we're going to be enabling Turnitin. So by default, it's going to be in none. We're going to be changing that to Turnitin. In the past, we didn't have this, right? This is something new with the integration. So here we have some of the characteristics, features that we're going to be enabling. This is the things that Kalisa was referring to. So first of all, we find store submissions in, by default, it's going to be storing the submissions in the standard paper repository. So that means that it's going to go into the Turnitin database and it's going to be saved there. So if your intention is to kind of compare to see if your students are using the same work, we definitely want to do that. Because if it's not stored in the submission in the database, then Turnitin is not going to be able to recognize it. So if your intention is to see if the students are like copying each other, then you definitely want to use this option. If not, if you just want to make sure that they're not copying things from the internet or like other sources, then you might not need to use it. But like Kalisa was mentioning, it would be good to let students know that their work is going to be saved in the database. So I would recommend using this, but let students know. Then next step, then we have compare submissions against. So Turnitin is going to be comparing the submissions against some type of content in the database. So one will be the student repository. That will be the database, actually. So it will be comparing it with files in the database. Next one, website content. So it's going to be looking all around the internet. That will be the second one. And third one is journals, publications, periodicals, these kind of documents as well. So as Turnitin receives the submissions, it's going to be comparing the content of the submission with the contents in these different alternatives. Great. So then similarity reports. So here you can exclude a couple of things. I would suggest keeping this because you can always just ignore them when you see the report. So we'll just leave it like that. And then we have the fourth box there says enable grammar checking. Kalisa was mentioning that too. And we would recommend using this feature because it will give you some extra notes on some grammatical issues that might be happening in the document. So we'll choose this one. Just make sure that then you check these boxes again. So you'll need to choose what kind of dictionary you'll be using. It can be like both US to UK or both of them. I'll put US for now. And then we can choose the categories enabled. So it's going to be checking the spelling, the grammar, the usage, mechanics, style, and then we have all these options. If you plan to do this like often, you can also save this as default setting. So you don't need to be every time enabling this. Great. And then we have show reports to students. That will be how fast students see the report because students will be seeing the report. I mean, we as teachers will see the report, but also the students will see the report. So if you plan to use this for students to check their work and then make the adjustments, then definitely we want the students to see it as soon as possible, so immediately. But if you want the students to see that once it's been graded, after it's been submitted, you can choose one of these options here. So it will be after the assignment is graded or after the due date, or you can even have never if you don't want them to see it. Great. So that's fine. I'm going to choose immediately. And then this is something really important that you need to take into consideration. You need to have a due date, okay? Because when we were doing the tests, for instance, we didn't put a due date. And then we found that we were submitting assignments that were basically the same content, almost the same. And it was not showing any high percentage of plagiarism. So the issue was that we did not put a due date. So there needs to be a due date. And that way the system, it will go into the database and then the system can compare that. So make sure you have a due date, right? So I'll put a due date too. I'll put that due date, let's say tomorrow. Perfect. Once you're ready, final step, you just save that. And there we go. When we go to assignments, we'll have this one, essay number 4. Make sure you publish it, of course. And this is the assignment that now the students can go into, submit work, and you'll be able to see the work using Turnitin. So let's do that now. I'm going to choose one of these assignments, obviously not number 4 because I just created that, so we would need students to submit something. But for essay number 3, we already done that. So I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So we have here 2 students that submitted work. Let's check it out, and also it's going to show us that plagiarism report. So once we go here, we need to go into SpeedGrader, right? So I think it's not showing, yeah. Okay, so we click here. And as you know, SpeedGrader is the platform that allows you to do annotations, basically mark assignments. So you'll see now, if you have been using SpeedGrader before, that now on the right, we see this little box with a percentage. So this is showing the plagiarism percentage that this assignment got. Now, let me just go back to the previous assignment because you can see it's really high in this one because we intentionally did that. But normally you will find something like, let's say, let's go to this one, number 1. And I'm going to go to SpeedGrader, same thing. You'll see 15%. So that's kind of like the normal thing that you will find if students have not been doing plagiarism, of course. So normally kind of like something around 10 and 20, that will be a normal percentage. So let's go back to the, actually, let me show you this one first because it's kind of like more the thing that you will find, and then we will look at the one that has like a really high percentage. So if we go, how do we go into the Turnitin platform? We just click on this box, the box that has the number. So once we click that, we will be taken to this window here, which is the Turnitin integrated platform. And this is essentially it. Here we see the assignment. And as you can see, we have some things that have been highlighted. We also have like numbers. I'm going to be explaining why that is the case. And this is showing us some of the things that are happening in terms of grammar and also in terms of plagiarism. So probably the first thing that you would need to do is go here to the right where we have the different toolbars. So the first one, this will be just to see the active layers. So we have the Similarity report. That will be basically the plagiarism report. And then we have the E-rater. That will be the grammar. So I'm going to close this one. And this one, this red one, will be the Similarity report. So first of all, we have 5 elements here. The first one is just flags for review. So this doesn't mean, well, in this case, we didn't get anything, but this will be like strange things that might be happening in the document. Normally, you won't find anything. And if you find something, just make sure that it's relevant because many times it is not. Then this is probably one of the most important. You will see that here we will see the match overview. So this will show us the percentage, the match percentage, meaning how close is this to other content, whether that is on the internet or that is in the database. Or I think, yeah, and we also have like journals and articles and all of that. So here we see that percentage, how it's built up. It's built up by these different sources. So it's showing us like this assignment has some parts that are exactly to some parts of these different sources. But 5%, 4%, that's really low. Now, if you click that, it's going to be taking you to that specific point. So as you can see, this one, you can also see it from here, right? So if I see this section here and I click on the one, it's going to be showing us where is it finding that match. Same thing with this one. So here we see all the different percentages, as you can see, essentially. It's going to show you also, it's going to highlight what part was apparently copied, and you will know exactly. You can make the assessment if you consider this to be plagiarism or not. If it's just a sentence, something really small, is not really an issue, but that's really to your judgment. Okay, next one. We have here the sources. So this is going to be showing all the different sources, different places from which is finding similarities as well. Next one, we have filtering. So here in filtering, we can do, as the name implies, some filtering. because, you know, sometimes it's going to be showing you some matching, but that matching can be among, let's say, a number of words. And maybe you want to, let's say if it's 5 words, that's not too critical, right? So you might want to filter that and say like, only show me matches when they exceed, I don't know, like 10 words or 15 words or something like that. So here you can make those adjustments if you want to be more specific with the tool. So you could like also like exclude quotes, because quotes are being matched. You can exclude biography, then you can change the number of words and you can do these things. Then make sure that you choose new report. So let's say I'm gonna put 8 words here, and now I'm gonna create a new report. So you'll see it, the report, okay. Oh, apply changes, I think, yeah. Okay, as you can see, this might take a couple of minutes, but let's continue. Oh, there we go, it's ready. Okay, so now you will get a new report, essentially. So I think before we had another number, was this right, Kalisa? I think it was 15, yeah, I think it's 14 now, yeah.
Yes,
Maybe
we
not.
had 15 before.
Yeah, I think it was 15, yeah. Great, so that's how you can filter. And finally here, you can exclude some sources if you wanted to do that. So like they're not included in the report. So those are all the steps, essentially. You can also download this information, the information of the section. So meaning if you want to download, let's say this part, you can download that. The current view, that would be. Oh, you can download a couple of things. So the current view, meaning like this section that we are seeing right now, digital receipt, and the original submitted file, meaning the student's file. Great. Now, if you want to move on to another student, you can just go here to the top right and you click on these arrows, and that's going to take you to the next student. So we submitted 2 assignments in this case, and this one is the second one. You can see it has like a different percentage as well. And then you can just run through the different things. Oh, we didn't look at the spell checker. Let's see if we have any of that. I think we might have that in the other one. Yeah. Okay, so let me show you now. Let's look at one of the one that was really high. Let's check that out. So we'll go back to Canvas, back to the assignment, and this is going to be assignment number 4, this one, essay 4. Oh, no, sorry, that's the one that we just created. So we'll go to number 3. So in this one, so previously, the one that I just showed you, the assignments were actually quite similar. We did that intentionally, but because we didn't put a due date, it was not added to the database, and it was not able to recognize the similarity. Now, that's why I was saying that it's essential that if you want to do that, if you want to really compare the work of 2 students or more students, make sure that you have a due date and also that it's added to the database. So that's the case for this one. So now that we go here, we can go same steps. We'll go to SpeedGrader and we'll see a very high percentage. That's because like these 2 submissions that we made are basically the same. I think we only changed like 5 words. So when we go into this one, let's see what we find. Same thing, we go into the platform and it's almost all red because we just copied the content and just changed a couple of words. So let's see if it shows us what's the source. That will be interesting to find out. Let's see. Yeah, so it's just showing us, yes, submitted to University of British Columbia. So it's showing you that someone else submitted a similar work at UBC, right? And it's showing us a student paper. So in this case, not much to look at, really. I mean, it's pretty obvious. We only have one source, but I think it's not even showing other sources because we also did this using AI. And even the previous ones that we just showed you, we also did them using AI. So it was able to recognize some of the sources that AI was using to create the essay, I mean. But in this case, it's just showing from the other student, it seems. Oh, there we go. I think, oh, yes. So if we go probably here to this one, all sources, then it will show us that, yeah, it's essentially 99% close to the other submission, but here is showing us also the little bits that it grabbed from other sources. Like I was mentioning, this is really minor, so 4%, 6% is not really something that you need to be concerned of. Great. So that will be it for Turnitin. This is how you can use it. This is how you set it up, and also how then you go into Turnitin and do the assessment. Now for students, the students will see the same thing. They will be able to, when they see their assignment, they will see also like that little box with the percentage. Then they can click on that little box and they will be taken to the Turnitin platform, and they will see the same things that you're seeing right now. So I remember, for instance, when I did my master's here at UBC in the MED program, we had like the first assignment that we had, it had us exploring Turnitin because it was focused on learning technologies and these different things. So the assignment that we had was to create, obviously, an assignment and then put it in Turnitin and see how high was the percentage to see what changes we could make to improve it. So you might want to use it in that way as well. Great, let's continue.
Eduardo, would you mind showing how the students may see it when they submit an assignment and see the percentage, please?
Let me see if I have it open, because I think I will need to log in. It might take a while, but it's basically the same thing. Like it will be almost, it will be almost like this, same window. They will see on the right the comments, and they will see also this little box. And when they click it, they will be taken to this same platform, and they will see the same, pretty much the same things that we're seeing here.
Okay, great.
Okay, so before we move on, do we have any questions? No? Okay. Let's continue.
Okay, thanks for that demo, Eduardo. So we just want to look at some of the educative approaches on how we could implement Turnitin at UBC more broadly. It's looking at, well, especially with the advent of generative AI, with tools like ChatGPT, and pursuing a more educative rather than punitive approach to academic integrity. So with something like Turnitin, this tool has been around for a really long time. And again, as we mentioned earlier, that some students do view it as a little punitive. They may think of it, may not think of it as a learning tool, but rather as somehow we're punishing the students, and possibly to giving them some kind of anxiety about this learning tool. So the main recommendation, especially considering the similarity report, is just to allow the students to view this similarity report. So as Eduardo was saying, once it is an option that you would need to enable, that they see it immediately. You ideally don't want to do it as never, because then that's really taking away the option or the opportunity for the students to see, well, why have I submitted my paper using this database and you're not allowing me to see its purpose? So I think the main recommendation for the similarity report is that you allow them to see the similarity report, and it does take them to the same platform as it would the instructor. So the instructor and the student will be seeing the same similarity report that is generated. Another thing that we need to consider is because it is a learning tool for supporting the use of English language with grammar and spelling, there's a spelling checker tool that we mentioned earlier. So it could be turned on and off. You do need to enable that function. And we think about here within the Faculty of Education, we do have English language. We do have an English language institute, and they are teaching English language learners. So this could be a really good way for them to sort of go through their work to see what's being flagged, and again, work to improve their English language, especially as it pertains to academic writing. So those are some pieces that we recommend when using Turnitin and its functions. And that really is much of the coverage that we want to do here today regarding Turnitin. So we do have a Mentimeter next. How the Mentimeter poll works is that you can either scan this QR code with your phone, or we can provide the link. I can do that right now. So how might you use Turnitin when you consider the affordances, when you consider the issues, when you consider all the parameters as you use it, whether as an instructor or otherwise? How might you use Turnitin? We'll just give about a minute here, and then we'll move on. Okay, I think we'll move on to the next slide. Eduardo, go ahead.
Mhm. Yeah, here we have some helpful resources for you. The first one is the one that I've been referring throughout the presentation, which is the instructor guide by LT Hub. So we'll be sharing that right now in the chat. And then we also have a learning resources student guide for Turnitin. We'll also put that link in the chat. And then to finish off, we have some upcoming workshops and events that you might be interested in attending. We have, for instance, a learning design drop-in. And we also encourage you to always visit our website so you can learn more about upcoming events that we have on different tools, different things that relate to educational technology. Thank you so much. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter, where you will find us on UBC LDDI. You can also subscribe to our mailing list if you go to our website. And of course, you can also book a one-on-one consultation with us if you have any particular questions.